Now, another big story in the news this week is nuclear energy. As you know, Peter Dutton has put nuclear squarely on the table ahead of the next election. And while more and more Australians are open to adding nuclear to the energy mix, state governments are not. And we've just been speaking about WA. Well, WA's mining minister is refusing to change their policy on uranium, despite the calls from the coalition to lift the prohibition on nuclear. WA Mines Minister David Michael says the state's future energy needs will be met by renewables, no problem. Here to discuss is Nationals leader David Littleproud. David, good to see you again. Look, where does this leave the coalition's signature energy policy if the states like WA won't lift their bans on uranium?
Well, as a last resort, we would have to use federal powers, but we don't want to do that. We're going to the Australian people. Peter Dutton and I will go to the Australian people with a clear plan, not to put all our energy eggs in one basket, to have concentration risk. That won't underpin our economy. There's no industrial scale country of our size in the world that's going in all renewables approach. So we will transition some of our coal to nuclear with gas, as well as some renewables. But what we want is leadership. We're going to be upfront and honest with the Australian people. If we get that mandate, the Australian people expect that their politicians actually respect that mandate and show the leadership that we're showing and get out of our road and work constructively and make sure that we facilitate this transition in an orderly way. And that's what Peter Dutton and I will be asking the Australian people to determine. If we get that mandate, we expect the states, no matter their political persuasion, to work with us and to get on with the job that we will have been elected to do.
So if you did win the next election, the states still refused to lift the prohibitions on nuclear, you're saying you would use federal powers to, what, force them to overturn the bans, or how would that work in reality?
Well, obviously, the first instance will be to work with those states, and we'll be talking about starting 2 nuclear power plants immediately, going to 7 over the period up until 2050. We've made that very clear. We want to work constructively, but we will utilise every federal power we have if there is roadblocks put in front of us. No one should underestimate my and Peter Dutton's determination to make sure that Australia is not left behind and we remove ourselves from this reckless race of an all renewables approach that will destroy this country. We are going to be upfront and honest with the Australian people.
How would that work?
Well,
what
obviously,
powers do you have?
Yeah. Well, and those are things that obviously we're working through in making sure that if we have to utilise those federal powers, and there are a number of them that we would utilise if necessary. But I don't think the Australian people want us to have a fight with the states after they've clearly given a direction, not just to us, but to every state and territory in this country to get on with the job. That's what elections about. That's what this beautiful thing called democracy is about. And we don't want to pick a fight. But what we're saying is the Australian people give us a minute.
Working through that process of if the states refuse, and, you know, you could easily foresee a situation where at least 1, if not 2 or 3 of the state governments refuse to lift the ban. So you are currently working through what options you have to force them to do that.
As a last resort, no one should underestimate our determination to achieve this. But I think what the Australian people want is leadership. They want strong leadership, and a Dutton Littleproud government will give that strong leadership. We're going to look Australians in the eye now. We're going to tell them what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and we expect the country to unite behind that and get on with the job, to back ourselves as a country and do what we should do to set this up for generations to come. That's why I'm in politics, and that's the legacy I want to leave for my children and my grandchildren. Not a legacy of renewables that lasts for 15 years, but something that'll last for 80 to 100 years. That's the common sense that the Nationals are going to stand behind and make sure that at the next election the Australian people get a choice to vote for.
Yeah. All right, David Littleproud, leader of the Nationals, thank you very much for your time.